Hi again, everybody. Karen here from Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen. Again, here with my beautiful co-host Tina.
Hello, everyone.
We're coming on the call again to talk about, or continuing the conversation from the last video about talking to our children in general about energy and how to normalize that. A lot of parents, I feel, or even like when I can see the kind of conversations I can have with my kids versus conversations that I have with other kids, it's a very different dynamic. So I find in that way it's a little difficult for me. It's not difficult. It's easy for me to bring myself to have those kind of superficial chats with kids. But when I come home or I'm with my kids, it's very the door's already open, that it's a natural thing for me to talk about entities, to talk about telepathy, to talk about emotions or things like that. Breaking all the walls and the boundaries, when it comes to those kind of conversations, or what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. I'm very pretty transparent about things, of course, like with the, exception when it is adult talk. But I find like with there's always a way in which you can explain or to make it comfortable or relatable for them to understand in their everyday life, so that they can observe the world and carry themselves forth and understanding what's going on and seeing the unseen and understanding how energy works and through people and experiences, etc. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. What were we talking about? What happens? Like how we go into it.
I was going to ask you, like, you were talking about asking the kids questions. What kind of questions would you ask the kids?
More so in an inquisitive way. Like, let's say they would have dreams or say something maybe out of the blue, or I would ask them like, well, where did that come from? Like, what do you think that means? Or do you think that's your thought? Did you hear that somewhere? Like, who said that to you? And if no one said that to you, why are you thinking that? Or do you think that's even yours? Like just opening up the possibilities of like different doors, different avenues of thinking.
Right. So, say a child says something like, I don't want to live anymore, or has a
Yeah.
thought that comes in like that.
Yeah. My son has actually said that to me, where he's like, I don't know why, but all of a sudden I'm thinking like I don't want to live. And I'm like, okay, well, great. But, in a way, great. I'm glad that you could say that out loud without being in fear, knowing that it's safe to say, something as such, and to kind of hold the space of safety for them to be like, it's okay, you're okay. And do you think that's actually you thinking that? What do you think could possibly be thinking that? Did something happen that would, you know,
Make you feel that way.
yeah, to make you feel that way? And if so, we could talk about it so we can get you out of it, or we can work through it so that it doesn't have to be the end of the world thought. So yeah, it's just, again, it's the transparency I find is very important. The safety is very important. The normalizing and the, not being judgmental is very important too. Because it's like, getting the wheels to.
And also, you don't want to like freak out if they were to say something like that to you, because your child is always going to feel responsible for your emotions.
Right.
So if he were to say that to you and you're like, oh my God, like making this huge big deal
My
out of
mom's
it.
like already on the suicide hotline, like, which I mean,
He
yes,
would be less likely to tell you again in the future because he knows it's going to upset you. Right. So you
right.
have to pay attention to where are you responding from to your children? Are you responding out of fear or shame or guilt or whatever? And I think the best response is always from a more neutral place and curious place.
Yes, definitely. Like for those who have been like following my parenting journey, and I'm just always trying to be conscious as much as I possibly can, like though I am conscious on the level of knowing what a quantum dot is, when it comes to 3D things like parenting children in the 3D world, it's you have to kind of bring that with you. And the fact that like my kids trigger me all the freaking time, then it's allowing for that, conscious awareness of those triggers to come forward in order to heal them so that you can break that um break that cycle, break the cycle of that, the toxicity or whatever it is that you're in, or replaying again, so that you're passing on that wound to them. And then, so what I find great, thankfully, because I've had, been in this for what, 10 years now, of talking about energy or bringing consciousness into the picture with the children, it's that they're able to at least call me out on things. And though, oh God, it really, oh, you don't want to hear your kid call you out. But, once you get over that, ugh, it's like, yes, you have to come into a space of they're your equal and humble. I'm sorry, I'm just watching this bug in front of me spiral, like as if it's in a tornado. Okay, that was weird. I I don't know what the hell just happened. What? Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was weird. What was I saying? I was a little stunned by that.
You were talking about like, being triggered.
Oh yeah, see, that triggered something else. Yeah, by being triggered, and yeah, you come into this equal ground space, like where you can accept that your child is not lesser than, is equal. Spirit is equal to spirit. And so by having this like person call you out, you have to kind of be like, okay, fine, okay, ego, I hear you. Your 12-year-old's calling you out. But you have to admit that yes, you're right. There was something wrong. I did something wrong. I'm overstepping your boundary, and respect it. And then be able to take a step back, because I have set a rule with the kids that if I overstep or it gets heated enough, that if I overstep the boundary or vice versa, that we have to pause, reset, and speak from a neutral standpoint where we, the tone goes down, the trigger is then addressed, and then we can talk about it. We can apologize, or I apologize for, yes, you're right, I went way too loud there, and I'm sorry that I pushed you hard, like verbally pushed you hard, but I understand where that came from, and it's not you, it's me. It's my trigger. I'm pushing you hard because it's triggering my part that has experienced that very same thing, and I don't want you to experience it the way I did. But you're traumatizing them in another way. You see how that fucking works? So it's being aware of that, and how the dynamics and how you're parenting or how you're speaking or will, the ripple effect of it. So I find, yes, it's very important to be able to, okay, call you out, we're resetting, we're going to try to find a solution, or we're going to talk about it so that we can find resolution, and where we can both feel good about it and feel supported together in it, and be able to say sorry, or you're right, I was wrong, I didn't mean to let it escalate that far. And rationalizing like the reasons for why you reacted that way, to teach them that I reacted that way because it sparks something in me that is something that is still not healed inside. It brings up my pain as, from what you're experiencing. That inner child did not have resolution. And so that part is speaking for me to, in a way, protect you, but it's coming out very yucky. So I can have those conversations with them. I thankfully they're able to evolve in that way. And I was grateful because I was just like, I just need another reminder because, like you've seen the cycles of my parenting and how I do have great breakthroughs. And then it's like the cycle somehow starts over again, but in another way because another experience happened. So, like, my kid ended school, we had summer break, which is usually like what ends the cycle. And then he started a new phase of going to a different school, different set of rules, different everything. And so it sparked up another set of stress inside me. And that's how it starts again. But thankfully, we're still, well, when I caught it, was still in September, which is when they started school. So it's not so far in. But yeah, I was dealing with a lot of guilt and shame around it, of how I was so terrified for him because, you want your kid to be safe. You want them to have a great year. You want them to be responsible. You just want the best for them, but it comes out in weird ways, controlling ways. And I'm aware of my controlling ways and how I was like, I really need to loosen the reins a little bit and give him the space to learn if it has to be the hard way, just as I've had to learn the hard way. I guess I've had to accept that my son learns exactly as I do, unfortunately. So that's been difficult. So I was able to catch it, and I was asking, like, give me a reminder, I need a reminder. And this, I went to my sister's house and she had, I don't know, something changed in her bookshelf, I don't know how, but it didn't look the same. So I just caught myself going to the bookshelf, and then the conscious parent book happened to be there, just highlighted like in my face. And I'm like, I need to take this. And she said, yeah, take it. And I just needed the book. I didn't read it or anything. I just needed it as a reminder. And it shifted since I got the book. I read a couple of things, and she said something profound in there of like, it's not going to change overnight, but it's going to take, more of your energy shift, and you're looking at your child as its own signature, its own energetic signature that you have no control over. You just have to allow for that child, or that soul, the spirit, to be. And you have to reteach yourself as the parent on how to coexist with this energy that has nothing to do with you. And I'm like, all right, well, great. And it's been harmonious since. I mean, like, there's shit that's happening, and it's funny to see how the dynamics have shifted a little bit in and how the unconscious is manifesting with his father versus how it's shifted with me being more conscious of what's happening.
So now that you're more conscious of what's happening, all of those little things that were getting on your nerves aren't happening.
No.
Right. Because your energy predicts the reality.
Yes. And I'm allowing for that quickness of manifestation to take place. And though she said it's not going to be overnight, I said no, it will be overnight. So I switched the program up.
Yeah. Well, you know how to work with energy, with your own energy. You know how to structure the reality in the way that you want. What you said, I think, looking at children as an equal, like an equal soul, an equal spirit is really important because as adults in general or parents, we have the tendency to look down on them because they're smaller than us and we need to teach them and mold them and blah blah blah, but really we just need to hold the space for them to be who they are, to allow them to show us who they are instead of trying to make them into who we want them to be, you know.
Yeah.
And seeing them in that way as an equal also, yeah, it includes like not talking down to them, but to have conversations, like to speak to them. Like that was one thing, like even with the babies, I always saw something
Like
from
babies,
huh?
talking to them like babies.
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking can't. That actually came up a couple weeks ago, and I was so irritated. I was at the park. I let my daughter play at the park and after school. And then there was like this kindergarten boy, and his parents were there. And I was with a couple of other parents too with their kids, like, and I just hearing them talk to their children. I had that face of that rotten egg smell face, like where I was like, because of how they were speaking to them, like they were retarded.
Yeah.
Like, and the high pitched,
Yeah.
the purposeful high pitchedness was really irritating me because it
Like
was so
how you talk to a
authentic.
dog or
Right. When you see something cute,
yeah.
which,
That's
yes, your kids
how
are cute, but it's like you could speak to them. I never spoke to my kids like they were babies
no,
either. I spoke to them.
I never did either. Even when they were babies, I didn't speak to them like that. That's how the girls at the vet were speaking to Coco when he was on the table. That high pitch, like goo goo gaga voice that was so ingenuine, disingenuine, and insincere. It just really got under my skin. Yeah, but I find that when you treat them that way, then they'll act that way.
Oh, yeah, this kid was acting like that for sure because he kept coming back and saying, like, so and so called me a poopy head. And I'm like, shut up. And then the parents spoke, and I was like, oh my God, you shut up. Because they're like, it's a poopy head too, and it's okay. And I'm like, hi. I'm like, is anyone getting overstimulated here? Like, oh God, it was so high. And
Yeah.
even the dad was high pitching too. Both the parents. It's okay, bud. I'm like, I had to look to see who was talking. Couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman.
Yeah.
I was being very judgy, but it was my body was just rejecting it. So that's how I know it's like, ugh, what a bad program. I don't resonate with that program. Nope.
Well, and that, but it shows you, it mirrors to you like what you don't want to be, which is good.
Yeah, don't. No, I just can't. I think, yeah, like I just never spoke to the kids like that.
Yeah, but yeah, you speak to them as if they're your equal and they're not stupid. And God, kids have so much more understanding and wisdom than we give them credit for. Like
Totally. No, totally. I remember I had a little bit of an argument with my younger sister about that and how she was saying like you shouldn't speak to them about inappropriate things or whatever, or like kind of insinuating that kids are retarded. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I don't, my kids are not retarded. Maybe yours are, but mine are not. And don't assume that mine are. And don't tell me how to talk to my children or what I can say to them or what I cannot say to them. Like that kind of thing.
yeah.
But it's a program. Yeah, it's totally a program.
Yeah, because people think that they can't, like they have to protect or shelter their kids from real world situations so
Oh
that
yeah.
when they are out in the world, they're not going to know how to handle anything.
No, totally. Another example is like I was like my ex-mother-in-law, she when you're talking and we're like censor the word. So they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm just letting you know that so and so." I'm like, "Who died?" Like I'm like, "Who died? What happened?" And I'm like, "It's okay, you could say it." Like I want them to know that people die. People die
Right.
all
Right.
the live one day. Like the people are dying all the time. And it's okay. Like it sucks, but it's okay.
Right. And a good example is that is like when people started dying in my life, I had no idea how to handle it. None. It completely devastated me. It wasn't a normal part of life like
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
it's like desensitizing. It's like aversion therapy when you include the kids in on these conversations, things that happen every day like dying. It doesn't have to be this taboo subject, the subject of entities. Children should know about entities. Children should know about energy. That's why we're having this conversation. You're assuming that they're going to be scared of it. So you're not talking to them about it because you're scared.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
They've probably already seen them and know that they exist, but
Right.
you're not having the conversation because you're afraid that they're going to be afraid when you're the one that's afraid, you know? So
Right.
stop being in fear and stop projecting that onto them and have a conversation as if it's just a normal everyday part of life.
Definitely. It is. And yeah.
Know when you might like your first example of the thought of I don't want to live anymore. Like how do you so when your child comes to you with that thought and you make sure that there's nothing that happened in their life that would make them feel that way, that it's not an emotion, that it just literally comes out of nowhere one night.
Yep.
And then you have to start asking the questions. Well, and informing them, sometimes we can pick, you don't even have to mention entities if they're too young. you know you can just say, sometimes we pick up on other people's thoughts and they might not be our own, so when that happens you don't have to think about it anymore. You can just let it go and imagine that it's drifting away on a hot air balloon, or you know give them techniques and things to use so that when these negative thoughts do pop into their minds, they can start asking themselves the questions. Is this mine? Like the little girl we talked about in our other video, M, who recruited, her guy friends at school to go and cut themselves.
Hmm.
She didn't know why she was doing that because she didn't have the energetic awareness to question, is this feeling and thought coming from me or is this coming from somewhere else?
Right. Right.
So, this awareness for our children is so, so important because the war that's happening right now that we talked about in our last video is for the hearts, minds, and souls of our kids.
Right. Right. Everybody is all like messed up, like adults, is because they've been invalidated their whole life. So that's the whole turnaround point, is to validate everything that we were, we have to validate and check ourselves, like, but yeah, consciousness is really like the most important thing, just bringing everything to awareness and to, make them understand it, not just from their own like perspective, but to understand it on a different one, on multiple perspectives. So yeah, I've had my son like come and he was bullied. He's a small kid. He's bullied all the time from like other kids at school. And I'm just like, I go, listen, I go, people are gonna state the obvious, but how original are they that they're gonna pick on your height or how small you are? I go, you have to understand, like when people do things like that, they're hurting. It's because probably their parents don't like them. Their parents don't like themselves. So they're using you as an outlet to take it out on you. So, understand that the bully is not born a bully. They're made that way. And what I found profound about, having like just bringing that to the table, I'm saying, but that doesn't mean that you got to accept it. You don't have to accept bad behavior because you understand that they're not loved at home. That sucks. Or they're neglected or whatever it is. And he came to me one time and he said, that specific bully, he was asking me, I think I brought this up in an old video, but he asked me, he's like, can you not quit your radiation oncology job because like his dad's dying of cancer and I need you to treat him because I know. He's like, I can have, he actually used these words, I have mercy on him because I know he treats me that way because his dad is dying. And I was like, damn.
Yeah. But that's the emotional intelligence that you're allowing them to have, that you're fostering in them, you know?
Well, that's good to know. Because again, like, yeah, I could see, like, I could have it in contrast with my nieces and nephews, and it's like different conversations whatsoever, like all together, like different things.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how do you teach them how to protect their energy?
Um, Definitely through imagination. We do like, the best time and they love to talk before bed, of course. We all know this as parents, kids love to talk because they'll do anything and everything before they have to sleep. So I find that's the best time to get the conversation going, get some interaction going. Really, all they want is your presence, right? So it's like, how could we have this like before bed chat? And how can we make it, memorable and something that they could benefit? So, I mean, I've incorporated like, let's close our eyes. Let's imagine protecting our space from bad guys. You could use those words. Um, like whatever energies are that can't come in and hurt us, like things like use vocabulary they can understand. And if they have bad dreams, to like make them understand like, oh, those are probably those energies we were talking about, so we really have to strengthen our protection, or know that you can fight them. If you wake up in your dream, you could fight them. You just have to imagine a sword, imagine a gun, whatever it is, and take them down. So I mean, like, when we were talking about that early on, it's like bringing their imagination in, really fostering the imagination to bring it and encourage them. I go, what would you use in that case? What do you want to use against that? And they'll tell you. Kids always want to like one up each other, so they're coming up with cool things, and it's like, yeah, that's a great idea, and validate it. That's a great idea. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Encouraging it and to know that they're protected. And it's just like what happened with my nephew. I think because my older sister, you know, she tells them, she's like, yeah, Tita Karen's a witch. So they have that, it's always been there in the back. And my nephew hurt himself, his knee, like he had like a scab that was kind of like flapping off, like he fell and I go, come here. I go, let me put my hand on it. Close your eyes. And I'm going to close my eyes too. And we're going to take a deep breath. And we're taking a deep breath. And I go, we have to do 3 though for it to work. So I was explaining to him, I'm like, I'm just doing a little bit of healing. It's nothing's going to hurt you. We're just going to try to seal it off. And after the 3rd breath, I took my hand off and the scab like sealed itself on top again. And he was like looking at it like, whoa. And I was like, I just did an energy band-aid. So just try not to touch it because it's healing. If you touch it, it might come off. So you want to just make sure that it's going to stay in place. So just be aware of what you're doing so you don't fall. And he's like, okay. He's going away. And they're like, where were you? And he's like, oh, he's like, yeah, Tita Karen was putting an energy band-aid on my thing, and they're like, okay, like it's normal to them too. Like it's yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, I think normalizing this is the best way to go, but I think people just don't know how to introduce it.
oh totally. You just have to start conversing. What do you think that means? Like get them involved in the conversation. Do it around dinner time when you're around the dinner table. How is your day? Oh, whatever, like whatever they come up with. And it's just like, oh, okay, well, why do you think that is? Get them to start thinking critically, I guess, as much as you can, and to,
I guess I think the urge or the initial response for parents, instead of asking the questions, is to tell them, well, this is why, dot, 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 instead of asking, well,
mm,
why do you think that is? Or why do you think that happened? Or why do you think you feel that way? Or whatever the question is. But I think the asking the questions thing is a really important point, and to get curious about what insights that they have, because
mm,
they might actually know a lot more than they let on.
totally.
What I
Yeah.
thought what I thought was really interesting was, remember that little journey we did with Buggy where it was like a little hypnosis thing
mm,
where I don't know if we did the thing with the goggles, but he put on the goggles and he saw the oh, because at that time he was really into drawing like the dark beings and stuff like that. And you were trying to explain to him that when you're connecting with them and drawing them, you're pulling them into your field. And then when we did that little exercise before bed, the first thing that he saw were those three big dark beings.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we left it up to him. Well, what do you want to do about it? And then I think he said three angels came and took them away or something, right? Was it something like that?
Maybe I don't remember. I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just allowing for them to go with it and see in a very safe, non-judgmental way. I find that's like really crucial in their development, I guess, energetically and just in general. I mean, you want to, so that you can have that transparency and that open door, because I mean, yeah, I'm going into a space now where I had to be conscious of how I was being with him. Am I going to create a negative experience in his high school journey, or and then he shuts me out? Or do I continue to be supportive in however which way is best, or he finds as supportive as he can feel with me around, and keep that door open? Because I definitely shut the door to my parents. I shut the door to everybody and isolated myself, and then that's how the entities came in. Go figure. You isolate yourself. But it's also because of the invalidation and lack of support, not feeling like you're important or loved or you're worthy. So, yeah, these are definitely things that I know are, the opposite. My experience, gaining the things that I wish I had and bringing it to them and seeing if that's the love language that they need, or what they need to thrive.
Yeah. And teaching them about the light that they are, the divine spark that sits right inside of their heart, and that how powerful that energy is, and that they could use that at any time to blast away anything that they're afraid of, or use it to shield themselves. And, like, it's so powerful when they're able to tap into that light within them.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's as simple as that. It doesn't have to be complicated.
No, I find, yeah, it's again like, questioning yourself of like, are you protecting or shielding them from something and then ask yourself, why am I shielding it from them? What is it about me that I need to shield it from them? Like, what am I feeling about it? So, like Tina said, it's like, are you projecting yourself and your own fears or your own program?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like I want them to know, I want them to be aware of what's going on and that, everything is this is just the way life is. I remember they got mad at me all the time. Remember, like at one point they were always getting mad. They're like, oh, it's not always it's entities. And I was like, oh, definitely, they're definitely entities. And they're like, not everything is entities. I'm like, some I go, okay, we'll see. We'll see. And then, they kind of like thinking it. But I let them have their experience, you know, backing what I'm saying, not just blindly saying shit to them and then not backing it up. I want them to understand how entities work. I want them to understand how the world is. The pandemic really brought in a lot of crap, but it also woke them up to seeing how the mass was being manipulated. Understanding, I think that was where we were very fortunate to be living in two different countries and being able to visit the other country and showing them like where we, how everything was so strict here in Canada. Masks, uh, having like a curfew, not being able to see your family, all of that stuff. And then going into a different country, visiting Tina, we never wore a mask once, really. Like we would kind of come in, but we would also set that intention of like, let's wear our invisibility when we would go. Let's say, like when we all went to Walmart that one time and go, let's not wear our masks. Let's go in and put our invisibility cloaks on. And, getting them to think, if this was a deadly pandemic, would we be allowed to be in Walmart? If a
Right.
deadly pandemic, would we, why aren't we sick then? If this was a deadly pandemic, like, just why would this happen? Would that happen? And getting them to think, how come we're not sick then? Why are people who are getting vaccinated, why are they getting sick? Like just getting like putting two and two together, getting them to really think about it.
Yeah.
I go, you guys don't have it, so why aren't you sick? Why aren't we like, why are we okay? Is it because we don't believe in it? Is it because our immune systems are strong? Is it because we're supporting ourselves? Is it because we choose that it's not going to be the end of all things? That it is the absolute truth? That it is like true for everybody? No. I go, we get to create our own reality. We get to see that it exists in other people's reality, yes, but it doesn't have to exist in ours. And that if we do get sick, that we have the ability, we can strengthen or connect um with our immune systems, connect with our bodies to support it, to ask it what it needs, and that we'll get better. And they were really like, yeah, they see it all the time. They're like, yeah. They're like, my friend, I don't know why she has all the shots and she has COVID. I'm like, what do you think that means? And they say it. They're like, like when I remember the teachers or the daycare workers were talking about it, like when it was still a conversation of like when my kids even said, well, what about our immune systems? I have an immune system. It's working great for me. I haven't gotten sick yet. I didn't need to wear a mask in the States and I didn't get sick. I went to Walmart and I did not get sick. I did not get arrested. I did not get in trouble with the law. So little things like that.
No, I
It's
love that you ask them the questions to make them think about it instead of just telling them. but really making them think.
Yeah, because it's like it's great when you see it click, where it's like, okay, we're on to something. Like we could see it. So it is true.
Yeah. And teaching them about their energy and how their energy reflects out into their reality, how reality is reflecting back their energy.
Yeah, like that traffic time.
Yeah. The time we were in the car on the turnpike and Buggy he was upset about something. His energy was just really negative and off. I don't even remember why. Do you remember?
No, it's happened several times. I don't even know. But or he was getting really upset about how traffic was starting to come in. Like traffic was coming in and he was getting like really irritated. He's like, "Oh, it's just traffic." Blah, blah. I don't know what. He was just annoyed and aggressive and then yeah, you are saying to him, you're like, you need to be aware of your energy type thing and you made him reflect on himself because you're like, well, we're not going anywhere. What can we do? We can't go anywhere. Like we have to just we're stuck. And it was like as if the moment that lifted that you're right, what can I do? The traffic, like I swear it just opened and we're going. We're like, see?
Yeah. And he was like mind blown.
He's like, whoa, like your power, like see how powerful you are, that your inner world, your inner whatever will manifest on the outside and you can change it. You can turn the program around.
That was such an amazing thing to happen. I feel like that traffic happened just to show him that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it totally did.
Yeah.
It totally did. Yeah. There's so many instances that happen every day that it's hard to kind of like, I mean, you can just write it all out, or but it's so normal for our family to be in that conversation and to discuss things. And we're always, like we talk about spirituality and how things are, but it's like we're bringing that practice into our everyday life and making it something that it's not just like, well, I'm spiritual. Yes, we are, but it's not like I am. It's just I am. And it just becomes a thing. Like it's part of it's not.
Separate.
No, it's
And
just
you don't have to wear a white robe and sit on top of a mountain to do it.
my beard. Yeah, no, not at all. The kids understand energy and it's again like how we talk about like if they're in pain or putting, let's imagine something else, like what color is it? The kids, like I remember when Julie was having her meltdown and she knew to go into tapping. If I say I think we should tap about it, into tap, and she'll go into tapping and she'll take the breaths and she'll even Buggy too. He'll go into his like cocoon state, like where he'll just like really close off. But again, the receptive, like when I was shifting, like if he was my traffic, I had to shift my energy for him to open up again. So it's the same, like it's someone's got to be conscious in order to unlock the consciousness inside the other person and bring it out. So it's like having the conversation, saying the hard things, not looking at your children like they're lesser than or
Or stupid.
it's understanding, yeah, or stupid, and it's understanding that there is a very brilliant spirit in there,
Mhm.
full of wisdom, full of imagination, full of life. It's not yet blocked. You don't want to block that. The reason why we're not there or why we're so broken and shit is because we've been blocked and locked and invalidated. So until you're able to really reverse that, I mean, I think like, yeah, I feel very fortunate. Although I thought in the beginning that I was like, oh my God, like I'm really locking myself here in this matrix. I find this has helped me so much in really unlocking myself even deeper and bringing out, like allowing my children to really trigger me to bring that out so I can heal optimally and as much as I can.
Yeah.
So though I thought it was suck, it's actually quite beneficial for to get out. Or
Yeah.
at least I have the, yeah. And I can raise them consciously so that they can do what they have to do as our 3D world is evolving into transhuman ways that they can at least claim their sovereignty and their organic self and support it as much as they can in this weird place.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to not separate the spiritual world from your life. Like it should be grounded in reality, you know? It should be a part of your life. Like you're always tracking the energy, you
Mm,
know? You're always
right.
getting the pulse of like if something is like, why is this thing showing up in my reality? What is it about me that this thing is showing up? You know, whatever that thing is. And always like assessing and then yeah, teaching the kids how to do that too, because they're gonna know how to do it just by watching you do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to teach them, you know, to show them really how their energy is always affecting the reality.
totally. I'm really trying and hoping that the tools that I'm, as I heal myself, that I'm passing the torch to them, or at least that it'll help them, because they are also being raised by another like unconscious parent. And so that they'll be able to work through that because there are wounds on that side that I have no control over. I can only control my own. So that in a way it's kind of hard for me, but I can only pass them what I can and hope that it'll be enough.
It's enough. They're good kids. Very, very aware and emotionally intelligent. Really good.
Yeah. Julia's savage. Like she'll just call it out, which
Yes.
is great.
Well, I think when you really allow the space for them to be who they are, you know, like really, they've really authentic expressions. There's no holding back.
No. And
Yeah.
it's encouraged. I mean, to to say it.
Mhm.
Say it with kindness. I hope for. I'm like, but it's good to call it out. At least to get people to also think and reflect. Though they might not be open. If they're older than you, they might not be open, but just keep doing it. Don't let that shut you down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, anything else?
Well, no, not really. I mean, you can always have these like conscious parenting conversations. I think I just hope that it encourages people like to work with what they got. So if you're waking up now in a space of like, oh my God, I karmically brought these kids here, use that to your advantage. You have the kids, take the kids, heal yourself, and let them mirror what more needs to be healed inside. I think that's really important because like though yes, I was extremely discouraged because of how slow the process was and how much guilt and shame came up from being aware of that, but it needed to. It needed to purge that energy out so that I could make more space to be more aware and allow for my spirit to come out so that I could give them permission to do the same. So it's been did I glitch out?
No.
No, okay. Yeah. It's been a humbling experience, and I do hope and encourage parents to talk and to ask the questions, not censor, to normalize the weird stuff, to let them speak. So if they say things that are like, oh, no, you didn't see that, that's your imagination or whatever, get that out of your vocabulary. Understand that what you're saying is an unconscious program, and to be like, be more encouraged that wanting to know more, that curiosity in them, to even for you to allow for that part of you to be more curious and be like, oh, tell me more about that. What do you think that means? What else do you think did you see in your dream
Yeah.
kind of stuff? Like, did you dream last night? That's part of our conversation too. Did you guys have dreams? And so that to encourage the remembrance of it.
You can gain a lot from the dream recall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, Julia has like these crazy dreams sometimes, and they're sometimes she picks up on our clients that are coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Her dreams can tell us a lot about what's going on in the field.
Yeah, totally. So, anyway, well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming on this episode.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, you can always comment or email us, quantumhealingwithtina@gmail.com. And we are there for your continued support and education. And if you have anything to share also that you think that would benefit our education, please, by all means, share. We're very open to everything. And yes, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, darling.
No.
All right. Well, wishing you all a wonderful day and night wherever you are in the world, whenever you're listening to this. And we hope to see you again on the next episode. Dr. Dre. Hold up. Hey.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Peace.